I'd spent weeks hunting down the perfect necklace for our anniversary, but when I gave it to her, Selena's smile didn't even flicker. I'm not the guy who misses things, not the small stuff, not the shifts that tell you more than words ever could. At 34, I've built something solid. 3 coffee shops across this city, each one a piece of me, proof I know how to keep my head down and make it work. I don't get loud, don't throw tantrums. People like that about me, customers come back, staff stay loyal, and Selena, well, she used to say it was why she picked me. I'm steady, the kind who'd rather talk than swing, but cross me, and you'll see something else, something quiet, something that cuts deep. She called it my quiet storm back when we were good, 5 years ago. Lately, I'm starting to think she's forgotten what that means. My days are a rhythm I've mastered, mornings checking stock, afternoons with suppliers, nights running numbers in the back office. Those shops aren't just a job, they're mine, built from nothing, a steady grind that pays off. I don't chase drama, never have. If there's a problem, I fix it, clean and simple. But if you back me into a corner, I don't flinch. I get cold, sharp, the kind of guy you don't want to test. Selena knew that once, or I thought she did. She's 30, all spark and shine, the type who walks in and everyone turns. She's freelancing as an event planner, chasing gigs that let her rub elbows with the fancy crowd. Loves the high life, fancy bags, pricey dinners, stuff I figured I gave her enough of. My shops do fine, we're not hurting. But these days, she's been slipping away, and I can feel it. It started subtle, these little cracks I couldn't pin down. She'd roll in late, tossing out lines about new projects, keeping her tied up. Clients, Nick, she'd say, that smile of hers flashing like it'd smooth everything over. You know how it goes. I did, until it stopped adding up. My work's straightforward. Coffee in, cash out, numbers balanced. Hers? A web of half-truths I couldn't untangle. She'd mention meetings at strange hours, 10, 11 at night, places she'd vague-explain away if I asked, calls she'd step outside for, her voice low through the window. I'm not some clingy jerk who tracks her every move. I've got better things to do, but I'm not dumb either. I've been reading people since I was slinging drinks in college, and I know when something's off. The signs kept piling up, quiet but heavy. A lipstick smudge on a glass, shade I'd never seen her wear, when she swore she'd cleaned it. A receipt from a competitor's coffee joint, tucked in her jacket like it was nothing. I shrugged it off at first. Maybe she was distracted. Maybe it was a fluke. Then came the anniversary dinner. I'd planned it big, our spot, nice table, that necklace wrapped up tight. I handed her the box, watched her peel it open, and got squat. No gasp, no real grin, just a quick, oh, it's nice, her eyes sliding past me like I wasn't even there. My chest tightened. I dropped real money on that thing's silver chain, custom pendant, something special. She didn't even try it on, just set it aside and started talking about her day. I sat there, fork in hand, watching her dodge me with small talk. She didn't care, not about the gift, not about us. That's when it clicked. Something was wrong, deeper than I'd let myself see. She excused herself to the restroom, and I stared at that unopened box, my mind racing. Why didn't it hit her? Why didn't she give a damn? I didn't have answers, not yet, but I had a feeling, sharp and cold, slicing through the haze. She was hiding something someone, and I'd been too busy roasting beans to catch it. Not anymore. I don't snap. I don't make noise. I watch. I wait. I figure it out. That night, when we got home, she hit the shower, and I sat there, replaying it all, those late nights, that flat smile. Something was coming, and I'd be ready when it did. I couldn't get that anniversary dinner out of my head, Selena's fake smile, the way she brushed off that necklace like it was nothing. I'm not some sap who overthinks every glance, but I've been around long enough to know when something's rotten. I don't blow up, don't need to. People trust me for it, customers, staff, even Selena, back when she still looked at me like I mattered. I'm the guy who keeps it steady, who'd rather talk than shout. But push me past that line, and I turn cold, quiet, sharp, the kind of cold that cuts through. Now I'm wondering if she's betting I won't use it. She's 30, all flash and charm, walks into a place, and it's hers, no questions. Freelance event planner, always chasing the next big score, the kind of gigs that let her sip champagne with people who think money grows on trees. She loves that life, designer labels, dinners I'd never drop $1,000 on, a world I thought I'd cracked open for her. My shop's pulling good cash. We're not scraping by, I've made sure of that. But lately, she's been pulling away, like I'm some old coat she's tired of wearing. She's got this way of steering things, smooth, sly, bending people before they even clock it. I used to think it was her strength, how she'd talk her way into anything. Now it's starting to feel like she's been working me over, and I've been too slow to see it. Those new projects of hers were the first red flag. Vague little lies she'd toss out when she'd stroll in late. Clients keeping me busy. Nick, she'd say, that smile flashing like it had wiped the slate clean. You know how it goes. I did, until it stopped making sense. My days are simple. Beans in, coffee out, numbers straight. Hers? A mess of excuses I couldn't pin down. She'd talk about meetings at odd times, 10 at night, midnight, places she'd dodge naming if I asked, calls she'd take outside with a tone I didn't recognize. I'm not some clingy fool who shadows her every step. I've got a business to run, but I'm not blind. I've been reading people since I was pouring shots to pay tuition, and she's been off for weeks. It wasn't just talk. Stuff started piling up. A lipstick smudge on a glass, shade she doesn't wear, when she swore she'd scrubbed it clean. A receipt from a coffee joint across town, one of my competitors, stuffed in her purse like it didn't matter. I let it slide. Maybe she was rushed, maybe it was nothing. But it kept coming. She'd slip out for calls, her voice low, that laugh of hers cutting through the quiet. She'd come home late, her perfume mixed with something sharper. Cologne, not mine, not anything I'd touched. I didn't grill her, not my style. I watch, I wait, I figure it out. Then came the real kick, a couple days after that dinner. I was locking up the main shop, phone buzzing with a voicemail she'd left by mistake. Hit my number instead of whoever she meant. I played it, leaning against the counter, lights dim. Hey, it's me, she said, voice soft, playful. Nothing like how she talks to me anymore. Last night was great. Let's do it again soon. Call me. It cut off, but it hit me like a brick. That wasn't for me. No, Nick. No, babe. Just a stranger's tone. Warm, secret, alive. My stomach twisted, but I didn't flinch, didn't let it show, even to myself. I've dealt with liars before, suppliers shorting me, punks pocketing cash, and I don't blink. I saved it, pocketed my phone, finished locking up. She didn't know I'd heard it. She'd been upstairs when I got home, acting normal, like she hadn't just ripped a hole in us. That voicemail was the line, crossed, clear, final. She wasn't just distracted. She was gone, tangled up with someone else. I didn't have a name, didn't have a face, but I had her voice on that call. Proof she thought I'd never catch. She's betting I'm too wrapped up in my shops to notice, too steady to push back. Wrong move. I don't snap. I don't storm in yelling. I build it, step by step, until I've got them cornered. The late nights, the receipt, that laugh outside, now this. She's playing a game, and I'm done sitting it out. Whoever's on the other end of that call, they're in my crosshairs now. I'll find them, and when I do, they'll wish they'd never picked up her line. I couldn't unhear that voicemail, Selena's voice, soft and alive, promising someone else a repeat of last night. It looped in my head, every word a jab, but I didn't let it break me. I don't raise my voice, don't need to. I'd rather sort of mess with a straight talk than a shouting match. But cross me, and I turn cold. Quiet. Precise. The kind of cold that doesn't miss. Now I'm guessing she thinks I've gone soft. She's wrong. That call was still burning in my pocket 2 days later when I found the real proof. She'd been out. Another project, she said, that smile of hers flashing like it'd cover the cracks. I'd been turning it over since the anniversary. Her flat reaction to that necklace, the lipstick smudge, the receipt, that voicemail. I'm not the type to dig through her stuff. Never been that guy. But something pulled me to her dresser that night. She was in the shower, water hissing behind the door, and that unopened box from our dinner sat on the table, daring me to move. I'd spent weeks picking that gift, silver chain, custom pendant, something rare I'd tracked down to show her I still cared. She'd barely glanced at it. That's what got me. Why didn't she give a damn? I slid open her drawer, the one she locks half the time. It wasn't locked now. And there it was, another necklace. Same chain, same pendant, identical to the one I'd given her. My chest locked up, breath stuck somewhere it wouldn't move. Someone else had beaten me to it, slipped this into her life before I even got my shot. I stood there, holding it, the weight of it sinking in. This wasn't a fluke, not some mix-up. She'd taken it from him, worn it, kept it, hid it, while I was out there thinking we were still us. The shower kept running, but all I heard was my own pulse, steady, even as my mind raced. I didn't shake a hand solid as ever. I've dealt with worse. Suppliers screwing me, punks testing me, and I don't crack. She stepped out, towel tight, hair dripping, humming like nothing was wrong. Good shower? I asked, voice flat, calm. She nodded, flashed that grin, empty, rehearsed, a lie. I gave her one back, sharper than she'd ever guess, and she didn't even blink. She thought I was still in the dark, still the guy who'd nod and let it slide. Not this time. Inside, it hit me like a freight train shock first, raw and fast. 5 years, and she'd been stepping out? With some guy I didn't even know? Then the anger came, a hot, heavy, like I could smash that dresser and not feel it. I pictured him, faceless, smug, sliding that necklace around her neck, laughing at me while she played along. I wanted to storm in there, rip that smile off her face, make her choke on her own excuses. But I didn't. That's not my play. Noise is cheap, gets you nothing but a dodge. The anger burned out quick, cooled into something better, something mine. A plan, cold and clear. She wasn't getting a showdown she could twist. She was getting wrecked, her and him both, and I'd do it my way. I slid the necklace back, shut the drawer soft as a whisper, and sat on the bed, letting it settle. That voicemail wasn't a mistake, it was her lifeline to him. The receipt, the cologne, those late nights, it all clicked. She'd been sloppy, leaving this here, thinking I'd never look. She underestimated me. I didn't sleep that night, not a wink. She did, sprawled out like she hadn't just torched us, while I stared at the ceiling, mapping it out. Who was he? Rich, obviously, someone who could drop cash on a custom piece like that, match my move before I made it. The voicemail gave me a voice, a hint, just enough to know he wasn't some nobody. She wanted more than me, more than my shops, my grind, my life. Fine. She'd picked her side, and I'd make her regret it. Anniversary dinner was still fresh, her acting like that necklace was trash. I'd use that, let her think she'd won. Next time we sat down, I'd drop it calm, quiet, right in her lap. She'd squirm, and he'd fall. Morning came, and she was all routine, coffee, toast, phone in hand, same old dance. Busy day? I asked, leaning back, watching her close. She shrugged, eyes on her screen. Yeah, project stuff. Might run late. That word, project, her shield, her lie. I nodded, kept it light. Hope it's worth it. She grinned, blind as ever. I grinned back, already miles ahead. The shock was gone, anger too, just fuel now, driving me forward. I wasn't some chump to beg or break. She wanted more? She'd get nothing. Him? I'd find him, dig him up, take him down, slow, smart, final. They'd never see me coming. I'd been holding that necklace discovery like a loaded card, waiting for the right moment to play it. Selena didn't suspect a thing, thought she'd danced around me with her lies, her late nights, that voicemail still burning a hole in my phone. I'd let her think I was still the guy who'd sit quiet, sip his coffee, and let her run the show. Not this time. I'd set the trap days ago, a redo dinner at our spot, same upscale joint where she'd brushed off my anniversary gift. Let's try again, I'd told her, keeping it light, watching her by it hook, line, and sinker. She'd grinned, tossed her hair, said, sounds fun. Nick, let's make it special. Special, all right. Just not how she pictured it. That night, she strutted in like she owned the place, black dress hugging her tight, heels clicking on the polished floor, all that charm she turns on like a switch. The restaurant was packed, tables full, waiters weaving, low hum of voices and clinking glasses. I'd picked our usual corner spot, private enough but not too far from the crowd. She slid into her chair, all smiles, and I matched her, easy, relaxed, like nothing was up. We ordered wine for her, whiskey for me, and she started her routine, chatter about some event she'd planned, a client who'd raved about her work. I nodded, let her spin it, sipping slow while the weight of that necklace box sat in my jacket pocket. She was halfway through her glass, laughing at her own story, when I decided it was time. I leaned back, twirling the whiskey in my hand, and dropped it casual. You never told me about that hotel stay, I said, voice even, eyes locked on hers. Her laugh cut off mid-breath, just a hitch, but I caught it. What hotel? She asked, tilting her head, playing dumb. I reached into my pocket, not the box yet, and pulled out a folded receipt, sliding it across the table like it was nothing. This one. Night before our last dinner. Funny you didn't mention it. She stared at it, dated, stamped, a boutique place downtown, and her fingers tightened on her glass. Nick, come on, she said, forcing a chuckle. It's just work, client booked it. Don't make it weird. Weird. I let that sit, took a slow sip, then set my drink down. Work, I said, nodding like I was mulling it over. Same client who's got you out till midnight? Same one leaving you voicemails about how great last night was. Her face shifted, eyes wide, lips parting, no sound coming out. I didn't stop. Because I heard that one. You dialed me by mistake, cute, right? She flinched, hard, like I'd slapped her, and the table went still, wine untouched, her story dead in the air. Nick, wait, she started, leaning in, voice low and urgent. You're twisting this. It's not what you think. I didn't blink. Then what is it? I asked, sharp now, cutting through her dodge. She scrambled, hands fidgeting, words tumbling. It's just business, okay? Some guy from a job, he's nothing, I swear. I pulled the necklace box out then, slow, deliberate, set it dead center on the table. This nothing, I said, popping it open, the silver chain glinting under the lights. Because I found its twin in your drawer, same custom pendant, same everything. Guess I'm not the only one buying you gifts. Her breath caught, loud enough I heard it over the restaurant hum. She stared at that box like it'd bite her, then up at me, panic cracking through her mask. Nick, listen, it's a mistake, a client thing. I didn't know, she stammered, reaching for my hand. I pulled back, voice dropping low, final. You're done lying to me. The twist landed then, not just the receipt, not just the necklace, but the voicemail tying it all together. She thought she could talk her way out, charm me back into line. I can explain, she tried, desperate now. I was starting like she'd find an exit in the crowd. It's not serious, I promise. Just let me. I cut her off, standing, tossing a stack of bills on the table. Explain it to him, I said, turning for the door. You're his problem now. She called after me. Nick, wait. Voice cracking, but I didn't look back. Heads turned, whispers started, her perfect night unraveling in front of everyone. I'd hit her where it stung, her pride, her game, and walked out clean. She'd underestimated me, thought I'd roll over, let her keep playing. Wrong call. That guy, whoever he was, he'd get his next. I'd left her scrambling, exposed, and I wasn't stopping there. This dinner was just the opening move, sharp, public, precise. I'd tear it all down, her lies, his part, piece by piece, my way. They'd feel it, and they wouldn't see it coming until it was too late. I walked out of that restaurant with Selena's voice still echoing behind me, but I didn't look back, not once. She thought she could talk her way out of that mess, spin her lies like she always did, but I'd shut her down cold. That necklace, the receipt, that voicemail, I'd laid it all out, watched her squirm, and left her there to choke on it. Now it was time to move, to hit her where it'd really hurt. I'm not some guy who lashes out blind. I don't waste energy on noise. At 34, I've learned how to strike smart, how to make it stick. She'd crossed me, and so had he, whoever he was. They'd both pay, and I'd do it my way, calculated, quiet, final. Selena lived for the shine, the fancy clothes, the credit cards, the life she'd build on my dime. I'd given her plenty, my shops brought in enough to keep her comfortable, more than most ever see. But it wasn't enough for her, was it? She wanted more, chased it with some guy who thought he could step into my world and take what's mine. Fine. She'd see what happens when the ground drops out. First move was easy, her cards. I'd put her on my accounts years ago, trusted her to spend smart. That trust was in now. Next morning, I called the bank, shut them all down. Every line, every limit, zeroed out. She'd wake up to nothing, no shopping sprees, no brunches, no fallback. She noticed fast. I knew she would. My phone lit up by noon, her name flashing, call after call. I didn't pick up. Let it ring, let her stew. Then the text rolled in. Nick, what's going on? The cards aren't working. I read them, didn't reply. She'd figure it out soon enough. Step 2 was the house, our place, my name on the deed. I bought it before we married, kept it mine for reasons I never thought I'd need. Now I did. I called a locksmith, had the keys changed by afternoon, and packed her stuff, dresses, shoes, all that junk she prized, into boxes. By evening, they were stacked on the curb, a note taped to the top, pick it up or it's gone. She was out, done, and I felt nothing watching it sit there. But it wasn't just her, I had him in my sights too. That voicemail hadn't given me a name, but I'm not some chump who stops at a dead end. I traced the number from her phone bill weeks back. Unlisted, sure, but I've got contacts. One of my suppliers, a guy who knows people, dug it up for me after a quick favor. Andrew, 38, some hotshot exec at a firm downtown, flashing cash and a grin that probably worked on her. He'd met her at a business mixer schmoozing, flirting, reeling her in like it was a game. He knew she was married, had to, and didn't care. That made it personal. I didn't storm his office or track him down. I'm smarter than that. Andrew's firm leaned on contracts, big deals with bigger players. I'd served enough suits in my shops to know how they tick: ego, leverage, secrets. Took me a day to find the dirt. Receipts don't lie, and neither do loose-lipped vendors. He'd been skimming, padding invoices, pocketing the difference, nothing huge but enough to sting if it got out. I bundled it, dates, amounts, proof, anonymous, tight, and sent it straight to his competitors. By week's end, word hit me through a regular. Andrew was out, canned, his name mud with the people who mattered. He'd lost his job, his edge, all because he couldn't keep his hands off what wasn't his. Selena felt it too, harder than I'd figured. No cards, no house, no safety net. She'd lost the luxury she'd clung to, the comfort, the connections, the life she'd taken for granted. I heard through a mutual friend she tried crashing at a girlfriend's place, but that dried up fast when the cash stopped flowing. She showed up at my shop that Friday, banging on the door after close, hair messy, eyes wild, nothing like the polished act she used to pull. "Nick, please," she yelled through the glass, voice cracking. "I'm sorry, okay? Let me fix this." I stood inside, lights off, watching her unravel. "Too late," I said, loud enough she'd hear, then turned the lock and walked to the back. She pounded a few more times, then gave up, nothing left to throw at me. She'd panicked, tried tears, tried apologies, but it didn't touch me. Andrew suffered too, job gone, reputation trashed, a hit he wouldn't shake easy. I'd torn them both down, her with nothing, him with less, and I didn't lift a fist to do it. That's how I play: sharp, clean, no mess. She'd wanted more, chased it, lost it all. He'd thought he could take my place, and now he's scrambling. They'd underestimated me, and I'd made sure they'd feel it. Every step, every fall, all on my terms. I dismantled Selena's world, cards cut, house locked, her precious luxury stripped away, and left Andrew jobless, scrambling in the wreckage I'd made. They'd both felt it, and I hadn't even broken a sweat. That's how I win: sharp, silent, no wasted moves. A month had passed since I'd walked out of that restaurant, since I'd turned her pleas into echoes against my shop's glass door. I'd moved on, kept my shops humming, my days steady, but she hadn't. I knew she'd show up eventually, clawing for a scrap of what she'd lost. She did, right on cue, knocking on my apartment door one rainy Tuesday night, looking like a shadow of the woman I'd married. I opened it, leaned against the frame, and took her in. No designer dress now, just a cheap jacket soaked through, hair plastered to her face, eyes sunken and tired. She'd been running on fumes, couch surfing, I'd heard, after her friends ditched her when the money dried up. "Nick," she said, voice small, shaky, nothing like the bold charm she used to wield. "Can we talk?" I didn't move, didn't invite her in, just stared, letting the silence press on her. "5 minutes," I said finally, stepping aside. She shuffled past, dripping on my floor, and stood there, fidgeting like a kid caught stealing. She started fast, words tumbling out. "I messed up, okay? I know that. I'm sorry, really sorry. I need a chance, Nick. I've got nothing left." Her hands twisted together, eyes darting to mine, pleading. She looked wrecked, exhausted, frayed, a far cry from the woman who'd laughed off my necklace like it was trash. I crossed my arms, leaned against the wall, and let her keep going. "It was stupid," she said, voice cracking. "He didn't mean anything. I was just lost, I guess. Please, let me come back. I'll fix it." Her state said it all, desperate, cornered, clutching at straws she didn't deserve. I didn't flinch, didn't feel a damn thing looking at her. No anger, no pity, just a flat, empty quiet. "You're sorry now," I said, voice steady, cutting through her ramble. "Not when you were sneaking around. Not when you picked him over me. Now, when it's gone, now you're sorry." She winced, opened her mouth to argue, but I kept going. "You had everything, house, cash, me, and you threw it for what? Some guy with a fatter wallet? How's that working out?" Her eyes dropped, hands shaking harder, but I wasn't done. "I gave you 5 years. You gave me lies. We're square." She tried one last push, stepping closer, voice soft, broken. "Nick, I know I hurt you. I hate myself for it. Just give me something, anything. I can't keep going like this." I looked at her, really looked, and saw nothing I recognized. The spark, the fight, the woman I'd loved, it was gone, drowned in her own mess. I stepped back, hand on the door. "You made your call," I said, calm, final. "Live with it. Then the twist. I couldn't resist. Besides, I've moved on. Met someone who doesn't need to shop for what I've already got. Her face crumpled. Shock. Then something sharper, like I'd yanked the last thread holding her up. She stood there, stunned, mouth working but no words coming. "You're seeing someone?" She whispered, like it couldn't be real. I nodded, didn't elaborate, didn't need to. "Out," I said, swinging the door wider. She hesitated, then shuffled past, rain swallowing her as she went. I shut it, locked it, and that was that. No second glance, no regrets. She'd come begging, broken, and I'd sent her off with less than she'd walked in with. My emotions? Flat, absolute zero. She didn't get under my skin anymore, hadn't for a while. Life after her's been clean, shops thriving, nights quiet, no weight dragging me down. I'm sharper now, eyes open in a way they weren't before. Trust's a rare thing. I don't hand it out easy anymore, not after her. That new woman? Early days, but she's real, doesn't play games, doesn't chase flash. It's simple, steady mine. Selena's out there somewhere, probably still scrambling, but she's not my problem. Never will be again. Andrew's faded too. Last I heard, he's scraping by, blacklisted from the circles he used to run. They'd both bet against me, thought I'd fold. They lost, everything, and I'm still standing, stronger for it. Looking back, it's clear, cheating's a spotlight, shining bright on who doesn't belong in your life. She didn't. He didn't. I cut them loose, built something better, and that's the end of it. You want a lesson? Here's mine. Don't waste your time on people who'd trade you for a shinier toy. They'll crash, and you'll rise.